Hello, everybody. I'm Toby Shifsky. I'm Vice President of Kaplan Real Estate Education, and you are here for the Real Experts webinar. And today we are going to do the 2026 vision, crafting your business plan for success. Really looking for a successful year in 2026. And today we have none other than Greg Greenhalgh. Greg, thanks for being here today.
Yeah, Toby, it's a pleasure to be here. Excited to chat with you and your crew. Looks like we have quite the large group joining us today. So excited to share some plans, goals, and vision for helping make everybody a fantastic 2026.
Well, I got to tell you, I can't think of a better person to do this with in 2026. You know, we come off of the kind of the COVID era. We follow the downturn in number of transactions in real estate. I remember at the end of 2024, it was stay alive until 2025 because 2025 was going to be the rebound year. Everything was going to go crazy, and then interest rates kind of went up. And there was turmoil and tariffs and a lot of different things that happened that kind of, put people back on their heels just a little bit. And so, although I think we're seeing some movement in the mortgage market, we're seeing some movement in the sales market now, finally again. And don't get me wrong, 2025 ended up being a little better year than 2024, 4.2, 4 point to 4.3 million, homes sold in America. So on the way up, but I do think there's a lot of challenges in 2026, but those who are prepared for them and have that plan, I think they're going to be able to capitalize. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the consumer is done with the waiting game, right? It was just wait for interest rates to drop, or just wait until more homes come on the market. We personally here in the Colorado market are seeing that the consumer is done in their waiting. They're coming back in droves. Open houses are getting bodies in the building again. Homes are coming back on the market, and I think the itch of that spring market is coming much sooner than it ever has before because we sat stagnant for so long. So I'm extremely excited to see what 2026 brings, not only for the real estate market but also for the general consumer as well.
Yeah, right on. Super interesting. We used to always say, yeah, between the holiday break, at the end of December, all the way until the Super Bowl was like this. It was like a, we call them food deserts. If you live in a place where you can't get good, it was like a deal desert in January. And if you were going to go on vacation, that's when you go on vacation. But interesting that you're seeing that movement in January now, earlier than the Super Bowl. I think we're seeing the same thing here in local markets in Minnesota also, where things are just starting to kind of crack loose. Well, let me do this. I want to make sure you get a proper introduction, Greg, so that everybody knows who you are. I think a lot of people here probably already do, but Greg is a real estate veteran, over 10 years of experience representing buyers and sellers in Colorado, Colorado Springs to Fort Collins. Big spread there. Greg has built a strong reputation through really professionalism, I'd say attention to detail and commitment to prioritizing really his clients' needs. And, Greg's an instructor at Kaplan, and I've seen him prioritize his students' needs. So after studying broadcasting journalism at the University of Colorado and starting a career in local television news, Greg discovered his passion for real estate and has been instrumental really in the launch of a national real estate brokerage, served as a director of operations for a prominent Colorado real estate office, and worked as a mentor, coach, and educator. Greg, who received his real estate license with his education from Kaplan, returned as an instructor to teach pre-licensing education to new and post-licensing education to new and seasoned agents. And so, Greg, thank you for being here, and thank you for sharing your thoughts.
Yeah, excited to be here, and like I said, it is a pleasure to come back and share kind of some of the successes that I've had. As you mentioned, I was once a pre-licensing agent, or attempting to be an agent, I guess, right here at Kaplan. So it's fantastic to still be here and chat with both new and seasoned agents alike. So extremely excited to be here. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, so let's do this. I think you've prepared some slides to follow along. So why don't you go ahead and grab the control and let's go through it. Everybody get ready because we're going to go pretty quick, pretty fast. This is kind of one of these kind of coaching learning sessions that, could really go a day, at least almost 2 days. But what you're going to find out is being complicated isn't the answer. And so we're going to keep it really pretty simple today. We're going to keep it really pretty simple. All right, Greg, can you jump on the presentation? Okay, there we go. I see it's up now.
Yep.
Everybody should be able to see Greg's your 2026 business plan. Many people hear business plan, Greg, and they think complicated. They think 50-page document. I'm hoping today, you run a successful operation right now. How many agents in your office is
Uh,
going on?
Yeah, I run a team right now about 280 agents here just on my team of an office about 450.
Yeah. Okay. So I promise you, Greg knows what he's talking about when it comes about not only his own goal setting, but about his team, depending on what level you're at, right? If you're a new agent, and I know we've got a lot of people. As a matter of fact, let's do this. Let's ask a quick poll question before we jump into this. I want to know where people are at in their career, right? So we can talk and talk and talk, but I want to understand who's in the audience. So everybody, please play along. Remember, poll questions are anonymous, so answer truthfully. And here we go. First poll, just pulled it up. You should see it on your screen. And it's who's in the audience today? How long have you had your real estate license? Please answer as quick as you can. Currently taking classes at Kaplan. I can tell you, we get a lot of people who are currently taking the classes and they're chomping at the bit and they want to learn as much as possible. I love it. I love that you're here. Less than 3 years. Good. The people are rolling in there. 3 to 5 years. Those are the people that came in during the COVID, rage. 5 to 10 years. We got people 10 plus years. And then how about this? I'm not even in education, but I'm thinking about coming and doing real estate. And I'm probably going to need my real estate. I want to understand what the career is about, and I'm going to need my real estate licensing education. I tell you, everybody, Greg is one of our instructors. We have over 75 instructors or professionals all over the country. And this is the kind of level of expertise that we try to bring every single day to your experience. And believe me, going through licensing education, do that. 49% of the people sitting in here right now, Greg, are going through their licensing education. Licensing education isn't easy. I tell everybody the hardest part is getting through the education.
Mhm.
And we do everything we can to make sure we're supporting you. Passing the test is easier than the education because I promise you, we teach you what you need to know in order to pass the test and to lay a solid foundation for a career in real estate. And people like Greg are the reason that we're able to do that. So let's do this. I'm going to share this poll and you should be able to see the results, everybody. 51% currently taking classes, 17% less than 3 years, only 3%, 3 to 5 years, 4% 5 to 10 years, 10 years plus, 8% of us. So we got some nice, grizzled, wizened veterans like yourself and myself. Everybody should know I'm a card carrying, realtor, and I have been since 1991. So we're all in on this. And I think I've shared the results. Did I share the results? No, here we go. There we go. Now I've shared the results. Everybody take a look. If I haven't seen it, I've just done it. And let's go. Greg, take us in and tell us, what does it need to be complicated? Tell us about a business plan.
Yeah. I think so oftentimes people think that it must be a 50-page document or that it needs to be some ginormous project that we take on. I'll be honest, my first couple of years, especially in running a team, we sat around a conference room table week after week after week, creating a intense business plan. One of the biggest mindset shifts that I've ever made, not only as a CEO and a team leader, is that a business plan is actually not a document. It's a decision-making tool. If I were you
Hold,
and taking notes,
hold.
that'd be one of the first things that I write down.
I've seen 50-page business plans. I've
Yeah.
written 50-page business plans. But what you're saying, that's not it.
I personally I don't believe that that's it, right?
Huh?
When we
Sure.
think of a document or a book, oftentimes those are the items that end up back on our bookshelves. They
Yeah.
are fantastic at collecting dust, but actually not getting implemented in our day to day.
Ah,
Early on in my career, I thought that a real business plan had to be, this thick, impressive, complicated, multifaceted plan. And
yeah.
what I quickly noticed is both in myself and in others is that those plans don't usually end up, going very far. They sit in a drawer, they sit on the bookshelf. They don't make any impact. What actually works is what I would call a one-page roadmap. that answers just three simple questions. Question number one, where am I going? Number two, what activities will get me there? And number three, how will I know if it's working? So again, number one, where am I going? I need to know this is starting point, this is my end point. Where am I going? Right? It's like Google Maps or
Yeah.
MapQuest for those of us that have been in the business for a while, right? Where is my destination? Secondly, what are the activities that I'm going to do to get me to that destination? And then, like I said, number three, finally, how will I know if it's working or not? Those are the three, I think, most important questions that we need to be asking ourselves and taking a look at our one-page roadmap on a daily basis.
Hey, did you have this on the PowerPoint? Because I didn't see it move forward.
Yeah, I will. Those three questions specifically are not, but
Oh,
we'll
okay.
actually break in and kind of jump into
No,
those
great.
in a
Can
little
we
bit more
break
detail.
that down? Can we just break it down? So question number one, which is, uh-oh, I think we lost your screen. What's up with
No, no,
that?
you're good. You're all right.
Oh, okay. So uh, the
Question
question
number one
number,
is where am I going?
yeah, why is that important?
I think again, so oftentimes we think that we know the destination or that we attach maybe a number of transactions or
Yeah.
an amount of money
Ah,
or a success of the approval of other people as our destination. But sometimes we get very fogged down and bogged down of where the destination actually is. And again, I'm going to refer back to good old, GPS, our rerouting. If you don't tell your GPS where you want to go, they're never going to tell you even how to get out of the parking lot, right?
right,
And,
right. You have
and,
to have
and
a
that's
destination
the
in
most
mind.
difficult part.
And it's surprising, and I see this all the time. So having an income goal, right, is a goal. And it can be a part of a business plan. And it can be where am I going? And it could be as simple as I'm going to $100,000 a year in income. Could
Mhm.
it? Could it be that simple?
Absolutely. I think that you have to decide for yourself, and that's why it's not a one size fits all.
Ah,
I can't sit here and provide you a templated business plan because your destination is different than the destination of mine, and it's just different than the destination of an agent that is just getting their license. Every
right.
single one of us has a different end goal for our 2026. And so, that's I think the biggest question that we really have to ask ourselves is what is my destination? What is my Super Bowl? What is my
Yeah,
championship? What is the win that I want at the
yeah,
end of 2026? Because again, for each and every one of us, it's very, very different.
got it. Somehow you're not sharing your slides anymore. You might want to reload that.
Yeah, I can pull it back up here for you.
Yeah.
And again, it really kind of goes down to those three questions, and that's why one of the reasons why I kind of brought it down is because I don't have those three questions specifically on the screen, but they're kind of just the launching point
Got it.
into
Got
some
it.
of these
Got it.
conversations.
So I think so. If everybody who's playing along here, I think in the chat, Jamie Cash has put up what those three questions are, right? Where am I going? What activities will get me there? Because I think we're going to spend some time on what those activities are, and how will I know if it's working or not? And I'm sure we're going to cover why that's important. And I love your analogy for that. So,
Yeah.
all right,
This graphic right here on the screen, I think is kind of sums it up in one kind of photo, right? This looks very overwhelming. There's a lot that's going on there, and just like in our brain, right? Until we strip the plan down to the essentials, overwhelm kind of clogs us up, right? And it becomes very cloudy. We don't know where we're going. The goal I want to really express to everybody is that the goal of our business plan for 2026 is not to impress anyone. Let me repeat that again. Our goal for 2026 is not to impress anyone. It's to create something that you'll actually use on a weekly basis. So a business plan, you're like, oh, check it out. I have 500 pages. I, it's not to
yeah,
impress anybody. It's
yeah. It used to
whatever
be.
you're going to actually use on a daily basis.
It
And
was
so,
like when they turned that paper in college. It was like
yeah,
it wasn't heavy enough. I needed more pages. Yeah, yeah, that
right. It
doesn't.
needs to be 600 words, or it needs to be
Yeah.
6 pages double spaced. Now, throw that mindset and all of that out the door. I think again, living on a one-page roadmap gives you the idea that you can hang that up on your desk. You can look at it. You can reference it on a regular basis. What I've noticed here is the most effective plans are both simple, they're visible, and they're action oriented. And if you can't guide your decisions on a Tuesday afternoon, it's too complicated, right? And we gotta make it as simple as possible so that we understand where we are on the roadmap at any given time, anytime that we choose to look and see again, am I making progress? Am I on my way to my destination?
Let me do this. I got one more poll question for everybody, and I want to make sure everybody can see it. But it's really the simple question, and I wanted to know, like, of the people on here, people coming on because they're looking for information, they're looking for knowledge. Greg, they're looking for your 10 years of knowledge piled down into 45 minutes, right? So poll question is this for everybody on here, and play along. Here we go. I've launched the poll question. Have you already created a 2026 business plan? Have you already? Funny thing, answer number one, I plan on creating it right after this webinar. We'll love that. Or actually, you know what? I'm pretty locked and loaded and I'm ready to go. Maybe I'm here to maybe just make sure I've refined it enough. I love that too. But I think there's and once again, polls are anonymous, everybody. So play along honestly if you can, because it helps us kind of calibrate our conversation for you a little bit. So all right. And we got just about everybody's participated. This is good. I like this. All right, here we go. I'm going to end the poll. If you're on your phone, you may need to move your page over to look for the poll if you don't see it popping up on it. I think somebody had a question in the chats. All right, here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And I'm going to share the results. Everybody take a look at that. 86%, Greg, they came to the right spot. They're like, I need a business plan. And I think a lot of people came thinking, I need a 50-page business plan. And what you told them was, you need 3 bullets. You need 3 points. And
Exactly.
and so let's break that down because I know there are people who have very complicated and sophisticated business plans, but I know that's not generally how they start. And I generally know they spend a lot of time on that. And it's like when you get into business and you create your logo and you spend 4 days creating a logo as opposed to 4 days calling the people who you need to get business from. It sometimes it's easier to create the plan than it is to actually execute it.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
so what are the key? What is the key to turning kind of vague goals? Because we're talking 3 bullets, right? Increase sales. How do you handle it when you just have 3 bullets? How do you turn kind of vague goals into powerful, measurable kind of key performance indicators and build? And how do you build around that?
Absolutely. I think unfortunately this is where most people unintentionally sabotage their own success, right? Increasing sales
Yeah.
is not a KPI. It's a wish, right? So the key is ultimately to translate those outcomes into behaviors, right?
Yeah.
So yes, I want to increase my sales. Sounds amazing, right? But again, I hate to say this, it's a Disneyland, Tinkerbell, Minnie Mouse, Mickey Mouse. It's a wish. Until we actually take a moment to translate what that outcome looks like in the behaviors of what I do on a daily basis, it is nothing more than a wish. So, for example, instead of saying I want to increase my sales, I would then ask you, increase your sales by how much? By when? And more importantly, what must happen consistently, excuse me, for that result to occur? A powerful goal, a KPI, a business plan is something that you can control weekly and not just hope for annually.
Uh,
Something you can control weekly and not just hope for weekly. So it might look something a little bit like this. And I did put it together here on a slide, right?
uh,
So it might be I need to track the number of conversations that I am having with clients on a daily basis. I need to track the number of appointments I then set on a weekly basis. I look at how many contracts I wrote on that monthly basis, and then how many total listings did I take in the quarter. When leaders and agents start to shift their focus, their results start to change from input, right? Confidence then increases, and you stop then guessing and you actually start building. What I would say is the most successful professionals that I know don't obsess over their goals. They actually obsess over the activities that make their goals inevitable.
yeah. Love this. Love this. So a goal, I want to increase my sales. Or how about these people sitting in licensing education right now or thinking about getting into business? I said, for you people who've been in the business for 10 years, there's the daily job has got a lot of trials and tribulations. It has a lot of wonderful moments, but don't get me wrong. There's a lot of people. What is there? Almost 2 million licensees in the country. There's a lot of people who find a very nice career in real estate. But the goal has to be, attainable, right? So we talk about SMART goals. What does that mean to set a goal? And in a business plan, when you say, I want to have increased sales, you're saying you need to set a target, like a real target, like a hard number. Either it's an increase in what you're doing, or if I'm sitting in class right now today, or if I'm thinking about coming in real estate, I say, what's my target? Do I want to make $100,000? And what
Right.
does that really break down to? Because we offer a course called Real Estate Accelerator. It's a training course for new agents,
Mhm.
right? And it talks about those daily tasks, these conversions, and things like that. And and it even has a little tracking tool to help you track if you're on task or not. But the idea is this: if you want to get to $100,000 in sales, how many homes you got to sell?
Mhm.
Right? I mean, oh, hey, it's a 6% commission on that house. Well, you don't get all 6%. Your broker's going to take a piece of that. And oh, by the
True.
way, there's two sides to most deals. And if you're not hogging the deal, taking both sides, you're going to split that commission one way or another, right? And so maybe you're going to get 3%, and then your broker's going to take their share, and that's going to be anywhere from, 30 to 50% of that total. So you sell a home, you might only bring in $5,000 on that house. That means you got
Right.
to sell 20 homes on average, so you figure out. And then what you're talking about here is, yes, have the goal, but what does it take to get to it? What are the activities you need to do? And I love that approach because it's not about the goal, it's not about big mindset, it's about what are you doing every day? And I think you said an interesting word, consistency.
Mhm.
What's the importance of consistency in all this?
Yeah. Again, it's something that I talk about a lot. Here in our office specifically, we have what we call scoreboards, and what they are is they are actually digital TVs that are on almost every single wall. You kind of almost can't escape them, and we call them the scoreboard. I want you to think about any sports activity that you were to watch, right? The national championship was just on. We're getting ready to go into the Super Bowl. If you're watching, any sports, the Olympics are coming. If the commentators weren't there and there wasn't the ticker that was going across the bottom of the screen to tell you what the score was, you probably wouldn't watch very long because you wouldn't know if the team is winning or if they are losing, how many minutes are left for the team to try to make a comeback if they are behind. The half of the excitement that goes in sports is the score. And it's the exact same thing with us in real estate. If you don't know the scoreboard of you winning or losing on a daily basis, you're never going to know if you've actually hit that goal until, again, December 31st, 2026, you go and finally, take a look at your checkbook and you're like, well, by golly, I hit my goal. Well, by then, if you didn't, we're way too late to correct, right? We can't reroute as it were with the idea of the map. So we look at our scoreboard on a daily basis. It gets updated 3 times a day so that I know where I am personally as an agent. I know where my team is. I know where my office is. And are we in a direction and are we on the right path to hit the goal that we want to maintain and hit 11, 12 months from now?
Got it. So super cool because you know that if you're not tracking, right, the score of the game, you don't know if you're winning or losing. You
Correct.
don't know if individual players are contributing. You don't know, right, if what you've done, you've changed the way you talk to people, or if you're reaching out to a new group of people, you don't know if you're converting like you
Exactly.
should be, right? I mean, I look at this slide here and I look at conversations daily. I mean, I know that there's actually a ratio, a math ratio to how many conversations about real estate an agent must have. And this is where, hey, you guys have been in the business 2, 3, 5, 10 years, jump in on the chat. And because I'm going to throw out a number right now, Greg, that we use, in our real estate accelerator coaching and training. After 20,000 people have gone through, we track numbers, and you can tell that that in order to have one successfully closed property, in fact, I'll ask this. I'll ask the group, play along in the chat. I don't have a poll for this one, but play along in the chat, everybody. How many conversations do the numbers from the coaching and tracking program we use in there? How many conversations must a new agent have in order to get one successful closing? Throw it up in the chat. How many conversations about real estate? This means when you're calling your sphere and you're working on your lead gen, talking to people at the coffee shop and everything, and you say, "Oh yeah, I'm in real estate, and if you ever need anything, oh, have you seen the house went up for sale?" Any conversation about real estate, two-way conversation. Put it in. How many? Somebody says 20. I got Robert says 500. Robert, that's a lot of conversations. Lou, we're getting a little closer. Lakeisha's at 100, right? I see there the 50, 25, 200, even closer. So here's what the numbers say, because everybody, if you understand how this all works, right? And I know you grizzled veterans know this, that not every conversation ends in an appointment, right?
Mhm.
That's your weekly appointments. Not and when you get an appointment, not every appointment ends up as a contract, right? You don't win all listings. And especially when you're kind of fresh in the business, you're gonna want to fail early and fast and figure out how you need to talk to people and how it needs to interact and get great guidance. Come to these webinars, we talk about this kind of stuff. Um, and so, how many contracts? And then not every listing and not every buyer representation agreement actually finds a house and actually closes on a house. So, so I'm going to go ahead. I see we got a bunch of people and I'm going to say the number. The number that we go with is 160, 160 conversations about before you can sell a house. So I think what Greg's getting at here on this slide is if you got to do 160 conversations, how many conversations is that daily in order to get you the amount of appointments you need, the amount of contracts you need, and the amount of sales you need in order to hit your business plan goal of
Mhm.
X amount of $100,000 a year. How many of those conversations? And so I think the big aha moment that a lot of people have coming into real estate is they say, well, I'm going to go to work. I'm going to go to a brokerage and the phone's going to start ringing and people are going to show up and I'm going to have appointments like crazy. And that's not really how it works. You are in the lead generation business, and the first leads you go for are your sphere, right? I mean, it's the people you know. And and everybody goes, well, I have 100 people in my sphere. That's great. How many conversations do you need to have to get one sale? Oh, I got to have 160. So so what are you doing? How are you doing differently? And then I also know that as you get better at this, that number drops all the way down. In fact, some of the most grizzled, wizened veterans, Greg, I'd probably put you in that category. I'd probably put people in here that have been on for 10 years. It probably takes half that many calls to make it.
Right. And that ultimately becomes part of your business plan, right? I would say that that's another part of your bullet point is year after year, I want to get better at my conversion. I want to make less conversations to make more money, right? Who doesn't want to work less to make more? So that's each year my goal is how can I get better at the conversations that I'm having to get them to convert to more appointments, to convert to more under contract, to ultimately take more listings. So each year I look at those numbers. Again, I go back and review the scoreboard. What did I do last year? What were the conversations that I had last year that really got me to where I needed to go? And what are the ones that I still need to fine tune and get a little bit better at my scripting and the conversations that I'm having?
Love that. Love that. But the key there was you had a goal, you
Mhm.
worked towards a goal, you kept score, right? So obviously, everybody, we're talking about a business plan, but a business plan is really, I think, what you're going to find out. And Greg, this is after talking to you in prep for this, is your business plan is kind of a living document,
Correct.
right? You have to be able to adjust as you go. If you think you print this 50-page thing and you set the tomb on the desk and 2 years from now you open up and blow the dust off and it's still valid, it's not. It's a
Correct.
living, breathing thing because you're constantly learning, you're constantly getting better, you're constantly adapting, and you need to. And the only way you know is if you're actually being successful with it is if you're keeping score.
Exactly. Exactly.
Super cool. So, let me ask you a thing, because a lot of people will come up with a plan, right? And they'll answer those three questions. And in fact, some of them are waiting to end this webinar to get that plan down, which I like. Uh, but you talked about consistency, right? I mean, most New Year's resolutions are forgotten by February, right? We're already two-thirds of the way through January. What's the simplest habit you recommend for people, right? For tracking the progress and staying accountable all year. How do you do it? Because it's not easy.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll tell you right now, consistency beats intensity every time. I'll say it again. Consistency beats intensity every time. The simplest system that I've seen work over and over again is a weekly check-in with yourself. It's once a week, the same time, the same place, and you ask yourself ultimately these three questions. And I'm gonna jump over here real quick. I'm gonna jump right here. These three
Yeah.
questions that I would say that you need to be asking yourself, right? What did I commit to versus what did I actually do and what needs to change next week? That's it. Those three questions that you ask yourself on a weekly basis. It's no fancy software, it's just your honesty and repetition. And when people fall off track, it's rarely because the plan was bad, it's because that no one was checking in on it. And
Uh,
accountability doesn't have to be complicated. It just has to be consistent. And as I mentioned before, right? We know that again, consistency beats intensity every single time. So the professionals who win in 2026, they will not be the busiest, but they'll be the most intentional with the time that they are putting towards their business.
I love that. And I think about, who is it? Warren Buffett said, 50% of success is just showing up.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what he gets to is you show up and you show up every day and you do what you are committed to do. And that's like 50% of the game. I think about that for other parts of our lives. It's a little easier to understand, like everybody. I want to know how many people, took a New Year's resolution that this year I'm going to run a marathon. This year I'm going to do a 100-mile bike ride, right? I mean, I do. I think I talked to people before. I ride a lot of bicycle. And I can tell you, I have a trip in 1 month from today that I'm going to be in Palm Desert riding bikes. And I'm already afraid because I have not been consistent in my training in the winter. I'm in Minnesota. There's like, a foot and a half of snow outside. And so the only training I can do is inside on a trainer in the basement. And if I don't do it, I'm not getting better. And I'm not going to be prepared for this bicycle trip in a month, and it already is crushing me. So now I'm thinking I can just replace consistency with intensity, and that's not how it works, right?
Correct.
If I get there and I'm 2 weeks out from going, and I think I'm going to work out, super hard for 5, 10 days, and I'm going to be in shape, it doesn't work that way. Same thing in business. Show up every day, find a plan that you can be consistent with, and then did you actually do it? And did you get the results you wanted? If you don't get the results, what needs to change? Right? But consistency.
Absolutely.
Love that.
Yeah. And like I said, I think it's when you ask yourselves these questions, you give yourself the opportunity to reroute, recalculating, right? And going back to that GPS model, I can go back and I can look and say, okay, wow, I made 260 conversations this week, but I didn't book any appointments. Well,
Uh,
if that's the case, then we need to go back and we need to rework the conversations that we are having. We can isolate the problem. We know where the leak is in the ship. We're not trying to solve and change our whole entire business plan 21 days into the year. And you just mentioned it, right? It's one of my biggest pet peeves. I don't like New Year's resolutions because we blow them up to this big, huge thing that I have to make on January 1 and I have to commit to it. And we know a majority of people don't make it actually past today, 21 days in to the new year, and they fail because, again, it feels like such a large mountain or a monster to try
yeah.
to swallow. And I think if you break that down, again, what is it is required for me on a daily basis, a weekly basis, a monthly basis, and a quarterly basis, then I can reevaluate on a weekly basis, what did I commit to? What did I
Yep.
actually do? And
Yep.
what needs to change next week so that I can recorrect quickly, as opposed to, as you said, waiting until the final hour and trying to put all my intensity into one thing. I promise you, consistency will always beat out intensity every
Always.
time.
Always. I didn't learn that in college when I had to, staying up all night trying to
Yep.
cram it didn't work then either, but when I was consistent and did it along, it worked. Um, I think about kind of where we're at in today's world. And really, this consistency, it really is the key, everybody. Consistency, and then measuring, and that consistency. There's such good tools today to help you with your consistency. There are planners. There are, you got your phone with your calendar on it. The calendars are fabulous these days. There was days. I remember when I got my first Franklin planner. Greg, did you ever have a Franklin planner?
Of course,
Oh my God.
absolutely.
I probably look like I'm as old as the hills, but I had the old paper Franklin planner, which it was printed every single day of the month, had a page, and you would write all your notes on by hand on these pages, all your appointments, oh my God, it was a godsend when I got one of those. I'd been in the business for like 2 years, and I was trying to keep track on scraps of paper and everything. I got one of those planners, and my business took off because all of a sudden I was consistent. I time blocked time to do my calls. I time blocked time to do my stuff, right? To connect with people. I even set up standing meetings with groups of people that ended up being in my niche, right? Where I know I was going to meet them for coffee on Fridays. And so you have tools to help you with consistency. Use the tools.
Absolutely.
Block your
Yeah,
time.
I'll be honest with you. My calendar is my best friend. It is
Oh,
my significant other. I cannot get through life without my calendar, right? It literally it holds me accountable, but it also is a great way to also again review the score. What did I do last week? Go back and review your calendar. What did you do last week? Did it prove to get you the results that you're wanting to get to? And is it helping you again on the roadmap to the ultimate goal of where you want to be for your business plan of the year?
yeah, right on. So business plans, everybody. Greg threw out three really kind of key questions. Where do you want to go, right? How are you going to get there? And how do you know what the score is, essentially. But there's a basic idea of business plans in the real estate market. And a lot of brokerages will have kind of a layout of here's a typical business plan format that might be able to help you. There are online assets that can go into very, very big detail. I know that in our real estate accelerated class, we talk about a business plan. We put it in three parts. You have a business plan, which is who are you in the marketplace, meaning where are you going, who are you dealing with. You have a marketing plan. The marketing plan is how are you going to reach people? Are you going to spend money on bus benches with your face on it? Or are you going to, buy zip codes on Zillow, right? Your marketing plan. And then there's an income plan. How much money you want to make. And so there's a lot of different business plans, but I think what you're getting from Greg today is business plans are great. And you should have an understanding of who you are in the marketplace, how you want to reach people, right? You should have an understanding of what your income goals are. But Greg made it even simpler with the first three questions, right? Yeah, what did I commit to? What do I actually do? And what needs to change next week, right? These are the consistency beats intensity pieces. Jamie, what was the three? Greg, what's your three questions again?
Yeah, the first ones were, where am I going, right?
Yeah,
If you wake up each morning, where am I going today? What's my destination? What activities are going to get me there? And then finally, how will I know if it's working,
yeah,
right? So
and,
that's what I use my three questions at the beginning of my week. That's my
yeah,
Monday.
yeah.
On my Friday, I'm done with my week and I revisit then with these three questions that are on the screen. What did I commit to? What did I actually do? And what do I need to change then next week to get me back on track?
Got it. So, for all of our attendees who've been here, you can hear that you can go very complicated. You can go very simple. Three questions that Greg asks, right? Once again, I described a little bit different. You'll find where your comfort is, but don't get bogged down in the details. It's really about the activities and the behaviors you do that drive towards your goals. Measure that you're making it. The human brain is so amazing. right? And I see this in thousands, tens of thousands of students who come through who become successful. The ones that do it are the ones who go out and they plan it and they're consistent. And everybody looks at that, and I'll just give one little example, and that is everybody says, I need to become a professional negotiator. You know what? Read some books on negotiation. You can take a class on negotiation, you know, all that stuff, but the fastest way you understand how to negotiate is talking to somebody about real estate, asking them to would you like to meet and talk about your property? You sound like you had some questions, right? Even if it's a friend, hey, you know what? Would you are negotiating already when you're talking like that. You're negotiating to get yourself further along in their mind as a resource for helping them with their real estate needs. And the more you fail and get shut down, you go, oh, that didn't work, and you try again. Doing it is the fastest learning curve I know. And failing and then getting a success and adjusting. Failing, we're getting is like suggest, so doing it, the consistency is the fastest way to success. And anybody who's been in the business for a long time, go ahead and throw your comments in there and call me out if you think I'm wrong, but or give another suggestion. But I'll tell you, I learned more by failing and failing fast and going back. You have to have the memory of a goldfish. I heard that in a movie once. I thought it was great, right? You don't remember what happened if being turned down. You remember what worked and what didn't work and move on to the next one. You have to be willing to do that. No matter what your business plan is, the consistency is going to win. So, so Greg, we're almost down to time, but if our attendees only do one thing in 2026, right, from this webinar, the single most important action that they should take today to set themselves up for a powerful 2026, what would it be?
Yeah, I would say that, if there's one thing that you take, it's deciding what one outcome, and that's right, I said one, what one outcome truly matters in 2026. And you commit to those daily actions that support it. Not 10 goals, not a perfect plan, one clear outcome. Momentum is built by alignment, but not by overload. And so every breakthrough that I've personally experienced as an agent, as a leader, as a CEO of a company started with one clear decision that followed by imperfect but consistent action. Again, hope isn't a strategy, but commitment is. If you leave today with clarity around what matters most and the courage to ultimately act on it daily, I would say in 2026, that year or this year itself can become a year that you stop feeling busy and you start building again something that's truly meaningful to you and ultimately gets you where you want to go.
That's awesome. Spectacular. I love it. I think I got the same thing out of it. And I think the big point for me was measure, right? Consistent. And even these apply just about everything in life. Even for
Absolutely.
you people who are sitting in our education right now, you know consistency every day helps. Or hit your plan, schedule your plan, follow your plan, and before you know long, you turn back and look around and 30 hours of your education are done, or 60 hours, or if you're in Colorado, it's 168 hours of education. So you know what? Takes that consistency. Same thing in life. Greg, this has been awesome. I want to
Of
thank you
course. Toby, it's been a pleasure to be here. I did notice there in the chat box some people were asking about a scoreboard. So tell you what, as a freebie from me to you and
yeah,
everybody that's here today, I'm actually going to share. This is an example just here on the screen of what my daily scoreboard looks like. This is something that my team works with on a daily basis. I'm actually going to drop the link to the template right there into the chat box. I'm giving this to you for free. Hopefully, this scoreboard can work for you. If it doesn't, use it as a template. Make one that works and it's going to be consistent for you so that you understand your roadmap of where you want to go and how you're going to get there. Again, Toby, it was a pleasure to be here with you today. Happy to be a resource and a tool for everybody. And thanks so much and wish everybody a fantastic 2026 of hitting their goals and making business plans that actually come to fruition.
absolutely, Greg. Thank you. Everybody else, you can go to the Kaplan Career Forum. I think Jamie Cash put a note in the chat. You can hit that link. Greg goes there and answers questions all the time, everybody. So go in there and play. You can see what other questions people have on this topic and other topics in the forum there. Jamie Cash just put it in. Click that link. It'll be up. It's free to use. Go enjoy. Have a great day. Thanks, Greg. Appreciate you.
Thank you.